this is Tracy. Welcome back to Love Yourself. I'm mixing it up a little today, doing stuff in a different corner of my house. So I wanted to talk to you today, and my dog is randomly playing with me too, with our Yoda that we have. But you don't care about Yoda, you care about the dog. Come here, Lokes. Say hi. This is my best friend, Loki, and this is my other pup, Sally. Yay. So, anyway, let's talk about books. So recently I've done 5-star books, and in order to do that, I talked about authors that are, like always, 5 stars for me. And then I also talked about 5-star books that are standalones. So I also want to talk today about 5-star memoirs and self-help books. Generally, I don't like to star review memoirs because I appreciate the fact that people are telling me about their life and sharing what they want to share in a book, and that's not rateable. Like, I don't tell you a story and then you rate it, so why would I rate them? But if it is like 5-star, I absolutely loved this book, then I can't not give them 5 stars, because a lot of times it's not just their story, but it's also how uplifting or inspirational the story can be, or life lessons that they learned and shared, or the way that they wrote it, and like points for creativity or whatever. So I do want to go over that. So I put it in 2 sections. So the first half is going to be memoirs, and the second half will be self-help. So the first one I want to talk about is Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. And this is an incredible book because absolutely 5 points for creativity. And I first got into Jenny Slate because she was in Parks and Rec as Mona Lisa. And she's a good one. She's strange and just freaking lovable. So the first paragraph of this book, Little Weirds, is: one of my fantasy dimensions is strangers on the street see me and think I might be French. You are a stranger, you see me, and you think that there I am, a French woman. And then you look at me and allow a deeper kind of feeling sight to occur, and you see past the woman, and you sense that I am actually a homemade Parisian croissant. And I was born in a kitchen, in a house with cool stone floors, and deep windowsills that hold the light in the shape of a big box, windowsills that are so deep that they could be a desk. I was born as a breakfast pastry in the fancy part of France, and hours after I was born, I was still warm from the heat of the oven. I knew that my warmth and lovely shape were the result of thoughtful and gentle work. Oh, please feel it. I am the croissant that feels its own heat and curves and wish to become a woman, and I'm that woman from the wish. Let me be your morning treat with your coffee. Disregard the fear that I am too rich to be an ordinary meal. Allow my antique decadence into your morning, into your mouth. Pair me with jam. Treasure me for my layers and layers of fragility and richness. Name me after a shape that the moon makes. Have me in a hotel while you are on vacation. Look at me and say, oh, I really shouldn't, just because you want to have me so very much. There are so many times when I want to be here just for your consumption, just to satisfy your appetite. This is what I feel I am intended for. I can't help it. An intention was inside of me already when I traveled from infinity to a kitchen with a windowsill to a wish to a woman. So that wasn't a paragraph. That was her first chapter. It's only a page and a half. And I just decided to continue to read and provide you with more of her amazingness. I definitely suggest Little Weirds to anyone, especially for feminist movement. Like, she's great for that too. There's a lot of feminist movement within her writing, but still with like joyous, hopeful, uplifting natures. And so she's just incredible. The next book I will talk about is Homes. So this is about a teenager during they move to Syria because of the Iraqi war. And it's really heartbreaking. And there's a point in here where he talks about something happening where it's like the scariest night of his life, and his whole family kind of like brushes it under and doesn't really talk about it, to a point that he still goes online and verifies that it happened, because sometimes he's like doesn't forget, but it's kind of like gaslighting, like, because no one talks about it, he's like, did I really remember that right? And so that's incredible. There's a lot of amazing things that I didn't know about in this book, even though I grew up with all of it going on. So I definitely recommend this book as well. Another 5-star book for me is The Soul of an Octopus, which is about a woman who falls in love with an octopus, like in a good way. I said it wrong, but she's not like attracted to it. It becomes her best friend essentially, and it talks about just like all the amazing, incredible, intelligent, and brilliant things that octopus can do with their body and their mind, and the relationship that she builds with it as someone who's studying this octopus, and it's also very good. It's a 5-star for me too. Whatever You Do, Don't Run. Oh wait, this is by Cy Montgomery, just so you know, and it was a National Book Award finalist. The next book is Whatever You Do, Don't Run by Peter Allison. Peter Allison is an Australian writer. He flipped a coin when he graduated to go to South America or to Africa. He ended up in Africa for multiple years. He ends up going to South America as well. He has another book called How to Walk a Puma. And then there's also a second book that talks about more information regarding his life as a tour guide in Africa. And so it's just a bunch of stories, like not short stories kind of, but kind of short stories. And it is amazing. Like, I love adventure. I want to be there. The stories he tells that are super creepy about mice and snakes everywhere, like, still don't deter me. It would be incredible to be there and see jaguars or cheetahs, which are hard to see, I guess. There are a lot of really great stories about lions and birds. He's a bird watcher, so he talks about that too, and how he kind of gets into that. And he talks about how they had a rat problem, so he built a bunch of stuff, and then they ended up having a snake problem, or mice, rats, whatever. So there's a lot of different things. It's definitely good for a lot of people. It talks about rhinos. If you love adventure, if you've went on an African safari, or you want to go on an African safari, I would definitely recommend it. 5 stars for me. The other books that he wrote, I didn't love as much. They were 4 stars, but this is my 5-star read from him, and I would recommend it to anyone that likes adventuring. My next one is kind of an in-between. So it is self-help. I'm going to do this. Yeah, there we go. So it is self-help, but it's also a memoir about Shonda Rhimes, who wrote Grey's Anatomy and Bridgerton, among a ton of other things. And she didn't write Bridgerton, but she wrote Bridgerton. Like, she rewrote it as a series. And then she is like the person for Grey's Anatomy. She is absolutely hilarious. She's very down to earth. She knows how to tell a frickin' story. And in Year of Yes, you go through a year where she is learning to essentially say no to things she doesn't want and say yes to things she wants, and not being afraid to get those things. And one of the things that she does talk about too is her realizing that she was saying yes to herself all the time when it came to her lifestyle around food, and that caused her to be at a place where she wasn't satisfied with herself and didn't feel healthy. And so she kind of turns that around, because it's a year of yes. Like, part of it is a year of yes of saying, I'm going to lose this weight. So it's really good, because it's not just like do whatever you want. It's like, let's figure out what your goals are and work your way there, sweetie. You know what I mean? So that's really cool, and it's a hilarious book with a lot of really good, uplifting, inspirational things, and I can't imagine someone reading it and not having their life change, like even just a little, because of the things that she puts in here. So that's 5-star for me also. Another memoir that I want to talk about is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And what this is it's him talking to his son. It's an open letter to his son. And it's about how hard it is to be Black in the United States and how to not give up hope, but how to make sure you're being smart throughout all of it. And so I'm going to read you part of it. I'm actually going to read you my review that's on Goodreads. So, quote, this is what he says in the book. That he was outnumbered did not matter because the whole world had outnumbered him long ago. And what do numbers matter? This was a war for the possession of his body, and that would be the war for his whole life. So that's the quote, and then what I said is, each word in the book had a reason to be there. Everything is articulated throughout, desperately pleading and providing narrative to the reality of the constant, horrifying encounters America has put on those of color, with an underline of constant hope, no matter the dangers faced. This book made me feel, fear, and cry like no book has before. And that's super true. It's a short book. It's less than 200 pages. And there's so much packed into those 200 pages. It's just an incredible read. I also wanted to talk about You're Never Weird on the Internet by Felicia Day. So this is hilarious. Felicia Day, if you don't know who she is, she's like definitely a nerdy person. Originally, I know her from The Guild, which is a TV show about people that play World of Warcraft together. I personally have never played World of Warcraft, but I still like nerd culture. Like it's about embracing your passion regardless of what other people say, and it's amazing. So Felicia Day is incredibly unique. She's very weird, but not on the internet, because you're never weird on the internet, in like the best way. She's very wholehearted and unapologetically herself, and she talks about in her book like growing up all the way through her life at that point, which I think is in her 30s, maybe late 20s. And it's just a really good, fun book that I enjoyed a lot. The next book I want to talk about is The Storyteller, Tales of Life and Music by Dave Grohl. So every once in a while there is a book that I will pick up specifically because my husband got me into someone, and this book is definitely one of those. Like, I love Nirvana, but the Foo Fighters are good, but they're not my favorite band. However, throughout my relationship with my husband, like, Dave Grohl's come up on multiple occasions, not just because of his band, but because he's just a kick-ass fucking person. Like, he broke his leg and continued his set and his concert. So that's awesome, like, while a doctor worked on his leg or whatever. So there's just really cool things that he does, plus his history in general. He talks about, like, learning how he learned to fit in and where he found his people, and that's like a really good story because you aren't always going to fit in everywhere, and learning where you do fit in is important for you to become who you are and have the confidence to be who you are, and also know that there's other people that relate to you. And he also talks about a lot of grief because he did lose Kurt Cobain. He also lost his best friend. So, and he talks about that, but he also talks about, like, when he got arrested driving a scooter in Australia, and like concerts that he's had and people he's gotten to meet, his relationship with Paul McCartney, things that he's been able to do for his mom, who's a huge cheerleader for him and someone that's really inspired him throughout life. So it's a really uplifting book with a lot of serious undertones because it is his life and he has went through grief, and he also talks about his daughter and how his daughter like is definitely into music now and things that he's done to help her with that and their relationship, and kind of how music syncs people to like grow together. It's a good bonding. Definitely music is a wonderful bonding agent for those that you love, and that's continued throughout his life because of his love for music and those he loves and their love for music too. So it was definitely a story that made me laugh and cry. He does say that he did 4 interviews that were an hour long each, and then someone wrote this book. So it was a ghostwriter, but like essentially he gave those stories, he gave those interviews, and someone wrote them down in a book for him. And it's written like that. It's very Dave Grohl. He also talks about his not relationship, but like his belief in aliens and stuff like that, which is where Foo Fighters comes from, the band name. So it's pretty cool overall. It was a really good insight on a lot of different things, and I absolutely love this book. If you want to laugh, pick it up. If you want to cry, pick it up. It's incredible. So yeah, those are my memoirs. So now we'll talk about a few self-help books. So the first self-help book I want to talk about is Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. And the reason I want to talk about that book first is because it kind of piggybacks with Dave Grohl. It is another book I read around the same time that made me laugh and cry. It's about embracing who you truly are and not being afraid of that, like at all, 0%, and channeling that to determine your purpose and have people see you for who you are. And the thing is that just being unapologetically yourself 100% all the time is going to make it so that there are people out there that are able to connect with you better. They see that you are doing certain things, and in that, if they want to do those things, or it's similar to something else, then it gives them inspiration as well. So it's about how living your truth inspires others to live their truths. And it's an amazing book, and anything by Brene Brown is amazing also. The next book I'm going to talk about is The 4 Agreements by Dan Miguel Ruiz. So essentially there's just 4 agreements for living life. Be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And sometimes that is something that I think about a lot. Specifically, be impeccable with your word. There's a lot of things that you can say in life, but it doesn't mean you need to. And there's a lot of times where you want to promise someone the world, but you really need to make sure that you're promising only what you can promise in that moment. And living in that moment and being present, which is something that I've struggled with for years, and I've been working on it. And the 4 agreements, like thinking about them, has helped me with that, amongst other things. Another self-help book I want to talk about, actually it's 2. It's Girl Wash Your Face and Girl Stop Apologizing by Rachel Hollis. I read these years ago, but Rachel Hollis is very good at being funny and revealing at the same time, as far as just being yourself as well. Another book that I will mention, because I talked about Rachel Hollis, is also Dave Hollis, which is her ex-husband's book, called Get Out of Your Own Way, A Skeptic's Guide to Growth and Fulfillment. And it's also an incredible book too. Both him and Rachel talk about their foster process and their adoption process also, which adoption is something that my husband and I are also looking into. So it was really eye-opening and scary, but at the same time, like, it did make me cry. Like, Dave Hollis pulled at my heartstrings with some stuff that he said about the adoption, and it's an incredibly hard thing to do. And they went through it, and both of them talked about their sides of that, which is also really good. I consider it self-help because, like, they utilize their stories to tell you about things that make sense and work really well. The next 5-star self-help book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Essentially, it talks about how the point is to always be better every time. Like if you are 0.01% better the next time around, like the next day, or the next time you, essentially they talk about basketball, so the next time you shoot a basketball or your next practice, if you're continually making habits that push you, you will continually get better. And it talks about how you can like make yourself do things you don't want to do by adding habits, like if I do this, then I can start doing this. So for instance, like I want to read, but I should go to the gym, so I can not read a chapter until I have went to the gym for 30 minutes. Like that's kind of what it says. Or I can only read if I'm at the gym, you know, stuff like that, that can help push you. And then it also talks about once you've built those good habits, you can build another good habit on top of it. So, I don't really have a good example of that off the top of my head, but if you read it, you'll get it and you'll be able to find something that fits for you. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you guys find something that you like, or maybe there's already something that you really enjoyed, and you'll read it again or reevaluate, like if it's a self-help book, what you can do to get back into the stuff that they put in there, you know? So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Namaste. This is Love Yourself. Take care, guys.